p.m. and this meeting of Yountville's Zoning and Design Review Board is called to order. I will note the only members present are Kimberly Cook and myself, Jason Janes. We are going to proceed without a quorum regardless for discussion items. In the absence of a quorum, we won't be able to take any formal decisions. We'll stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will ask for unanimous consent to adopt the agenda as presented. Hearing no objection, it is adopted. Kim, do you have any comments on the minutes before us? There are two from April 14th and May 12th.
No, I do not.
I would suggest that because we don't have a quorum, we would just go ahead and put those on the next agenda when we would have a quorum for approval, even though you will have 3 new members most likely next time. But we can just wait. Those are not necessary right now.
So I will ask, nevertheless, for unanimous consent to continue the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. I think you might have a challenge in asking people who weren't present in those meetings to vote to approve them, so they may remain draft in perpetuity. Hi, everybody. Anyone here to talk about something not on tonight's agenda? Great. Let's skip over the vacant consent calendar and proceed directly to item 15352, design review for 2080 Humboldt. Pray present the staff report.
I have a public disclosure. I have had a personal transaction with the applicant, as she was the realtor for a house we purchased over 2 years ago, and I'm also currently involved with her in a search for a home for my mother to purchase. I've spoken with town's legal counsel, and they have informed me that I do not need to recuse myself, but that I should just make these facts part of the record.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you to the 2 members that are here this evening. As this item is a commercial design review, which the town council considers and approves, the fact that we don't have a quorum tonight doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a meeting anyways, because we will summarize the comments that the 2 members that are present provide tonight for the council's consideration when they look at this application in the future. The town council has already reviewed this application in fairly great detail during the rezone application for the property last summer. The applicant is proposing to rebuild the structure that's currently there and convert it from a residential property into a commercial property. That was approved by the town council last year. I think there was quite a bit of detail in that staff report that was presented to them regarding setbacks and some of the other development issues. So I think in many ways, really what we're talking about this evening is really the use of materials rather than any of those other items. The building is a historic building. It was studied by Carrion Company last spring to determine whether or not it was a structure that deserved any kind of special consideration. In that analysis, they found that even though it had served as the post office for the town of Yountville, it's been moved and it's been considerably altered, that the historic records that we have in terms of pictures is sufficient to document its existence, and no other special consideration for the structure needed to take place. The applicant is proposing a commercial office suite on the bottom floor, and the residential unit that was the home before will now be replaced with a smaller apartment upstairs. The structure is going to use the existing footprint, and there will be a new front porch and ADA accessible ramps on the north end side of the property. The concrete block, carport, and garage will be demolished and replaced with a stamped concrete parking paved area with permeable block. The parking area will accommodate 1 ADA spot with 5 standard parking places. They will be tandem parking places, and as a result of the fact that it is commercial and it's a fairly small office in itself, Staff feels that that tandem parking arrangement can work quite well. Drought-tolerant trees and shrubs will be used, and 2 small existing lawn areas will be replanted. Per the rezone approvals, a new 6-foot-tall concrete wall will be constructed around the property and specifically to the east of the property where the project abuts a residence. There, in the staff report, there's a list of the proposed landscaping materials which meet with the town's requirements for drought-tolerant plants, and they will be drip irrigated. The existing FAR is 0.70, and of course that greatly exceeds the maximum permitted FAR for a mixed commercial residential project. With the garage removal, the total site will be reduced from 70% to 53%. And although it doesn't satisfy the current requirement, because the building is legal nonconforming, staff supports the reduction. And the council obviously did when they considered rezoning the property last year. The applicant proposes a simple non-illuminated wall sign hung approximately 48 inches by 36 inches wide, of the same material as the siding with a black background and white lettering. The materials are presented here on the board. They're proposed to be wood materials. And let's see if there's anything else that is important for you to consider. It's vertical fir siding. It resembles kind of an old barn wood with a circular saw pattern and weathered grain stain. And the roof is cladded with a standing seam metal roof of weathered copper. In completing the analysis of the proposal, the replacement housing, the fact that housing element 21, policy 21 applies when housing is lost upon reclassification from residential commercial, it doesn't apply to this project because the existing single-family dwelling will be replaced with a smaller, more affordable apartment unit. So a unit's not lost. In conclusion, staff is supportive of the project, and as such, we support the design review for the remodel proposed. As I stated earlier, the ZDRB members should provide us input to the town council, and we'll summarize that in the staff report before it goes to them. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of staff?
No.
For the moment, I have one, which is condition of approval, proposed condition of approval number 2. Have you shared that with the applicant?
Yes,
Your condition
we have.
to delete?
Yes,
any turf?
the sod shown on the landscaping plan is changed to drought-tolerant material, and we've already discussed that, and they're amenable to that change.
Okay. Second question, in the context of FAR, I inferred you saying that the council had supported the higher FAR for this replacement structure based on the rezone. Did in fact the rezone process include a discussion of FAR and a proposed building size?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Thanks very much. We'd love to hear from the applicant. Or you're not required to.
We certainly don't have.
If you have any additional information you want to share about the project, that you're more than welcome to share.
I don't think so. I think you understand everything.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone here who's not with the applicant who'd like to speak to this application? Okay. Nevertheless, I'll see if there are any questions of the applicant.
No.
Okay. So I think we can discuss and try to develop a recommendation for the council.
Me first?
Yes, please.
Okay. I think it will be a great improvement for what is existing. I am not convinced of the tandem parking idea works, but town approves it, and we don't really have a say on that. That's just a personal statement. I like the exterior material chosen. I think that's nice. My only design quandary and recommendation would be that it doesn't look, being that it's in this transition period, but in the residential area, on the borderline of a residential area, I would prefer if it looked a little more residential, like the porch, the trim around the porch, the columns were painted or something to make it look a little more like a house instead of just all brown. I think it's a little dead looking. Other than that, that would be my only recommendation to council. Thank you.
Okay. My comments are, I take no exception to the proposed design, its characteristic, or finishes, but I share Member Cook's concern with tandem parking. I believe it's a true statement that the ordinance neither expressly permits nor prohibits tandem parking. We have, as a matter of course, on several occasions, approved tandem parking. What I think is particularly problematic with the tandem parking here, though, is that the accessible space is also tandem parking. So we can see perhaps if employees are using the two adjacent, more southern spaces, that makes perfect sense. Members of the public still then have the spaces behind them. The parking, of course, is for both members of the public and staff. But if our parking requirement is 6, including the ADA spot, I think it's very problematic to require a disabled person to have someone move his or her car. Now, it might be that a disabled person, it's no more problematic for him or her to have a car moved so that he or she can leave. But I commend to staff that the town engineer and the town building official certify explicitly that this arrangement with an obstruction to the accessible parking spot is compliant with the building code. I'm not convinced it is. In fact, I'm rather doubtful of it, unless there was a valet. Secondly, I, of course, believe you, Director Demery, that the town council explicitly discussed FAR. In the past, we've taken a position that legally non-conforming structures, if they're replaced altogether, it's sort of a de novo application. It's only remodels where a non-conforming condition can persist. So while I don't necessarily object to this, my recommendation is that the council take an explicit and affirmative decision to approve this FAR, that it be discussed very openly and noted, as I say, very clearly, that the council is approving what is, I think, a fairly significant departure from FAR. Those conclude my recommendations to the council, and I can see you wishing to offer me.
I just wanted to chime in on the remodel. This is, in fact, a remodel. Several of the walls are being left. There is a lot of termite damage in the building, so they're having to replace a lot more than they thought they were, even when they made their application last year. But they are leaving portions of the structure which does classify it as a remodel. There's no percentage in the building code that
Right.
explains what is a remodel. It's not a certain percentage. So.
And I gather that, to me, the corresponding example would be if a particular exterior wall were being retained with a non-compliant setback, that would be a different condition. But
Right.
in any event, as you've explained, the council has noted it, so I'm merely encouraging the council to explicitly note they are approving
And your comments will definitely be reflected in the staff report.
fair enough.
Thank you.
So I think with those comments, Kim and I have a consonance on a concern about the tandem parking. Kim's recommendation that more residential design elements be met, and mine about.
Do you have any
The
preferences
council?
on colors, or would you want to see what exactly? How would the trim
a
look differently?
contrasting,
more
if
more
the
contrast?
columns and the part above the entry porch and the railing were
Of a different material.
cream, a dark, a
Okay.
lighter version of that,
Okay.
something that made it look
Okay.
a little more residential instead of
Okay.
all one solid color,
Okay.
since it is in that transition period.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll have some discussions with the applicant
Okay.
about that, and if they want to make some changes, we'll make those changes and
Okay.
take it to the council. Great.
All righty.
All right. Thank you.
With that said, I do think it's a fair statement that we are recommending approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Best
With
wishes.
that, thank you.
I don't believe there are any presentation and discussion items. Staff and board reports.
It's a little sad that this is your last meeting and we didn't have a real meeting. So
Oh, I don't know.
So you can come to the next one.
there is an item to thank you for your service at the, I think it's August 4th council meeting.
Right. I owe a
resolution.
response to the town clerk, don't I?
Yes, and I can just say that your comments have always been thoughtful in the 6 months that I've been here, extremely on point, really helpful, I think. You bring so much to the board in terms of practical experience in your building that it makes the process better, and it makes the process better for staff because we're working with people that are really committed. And Kim is the same way when it comes to design. All of her comments are always on point
thank you.
and helpful. So I can't diminish the value that this board presents to the town, and you will definitely be missed, especially your humor and your wit and your charm. And your, you never wore your seersucker suit here, and I'm really, at some point, I want to see it in person. But
That can be arranged.
I know that from the bottom of yes, Sandra's heart, and I know Nathan. They both have expressed how important your participation has been all these years, and we just hope that we get someone with half your abilities to be put back on the board. So.
You're very
Really
kind and
miss.
sweet. Thank you.
So,
It will be a large hole in the board without the knowledge that you bring us to help guide the rest of us. And I will miss that.
Andrew?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Janes has told me I may have a party, so
Excellent.
We will be
I
there.
will
We'll
extend an invitation once we can
That
pin
sounds
down a
wonderful.
date.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Unanimous consent to adjourn?
You bet.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Alrighty.